Right, welcome to this Tactics and Showcase video. It's Space Marines here. I'm starting to focus in on them. I've been working on my Imperial Fists and trying to fast track this army to get it back onto the battlefield as soon as possible. So I've got a series of tactical videos here for the Space Marines and some of the key units I plan to have in my revamped Imperial Fist army. So in this episode we'll take a look at Centurions. So I have a unit of 3 of those. I haven't been using them for a long time, and then I've decided to bring them back and to put them into the new list. So we'll take a look at, in this video, I'll take a look at the models. So I have a unit of 3 of them painted up. We'll zoom in, take a look at those, just to give you a view of the painted models, just like a good painting reference, give you an idea of what the miniatures look like close up. And then we'll look at the loadouts for them, points, tactics, and all little hints and tips, just to try and get the most out of these and the best tactica that I can come up with to try and enhance and make full use of this unit. I think they're potentially really good. They do have some vulnerabilities, so it's all about trying to protect them as well as trying to make them as efficient as possible on the battlefield. So I have, and this is a new list I've proposed. It's over on the Plus channel. Just I want to fast track the Imperial Fists. I've already got a pretty good collection of them, and I had an older list that had a whole lot of new models to paint, and so I've sort of scrapped that idea. I'm going to make use of models that I have already painted up, and that's to bring these guys back from retirement. I haven't used them for a long time, and so use these ones here. Now their configuration is the double las cannon. This is the Centurion Devastators, and then it's also the rocket launchers there, but I'm going to play them as Hurricane Bolters. I think that's the loadout I'm going to go for, and there's a number of reasons behind that. So that's the 3 of those. I'm going to zoom in here first of all, and we'll take a closer look at the models. So there's one of the regular Centurion Devastators. Remember when Games Workshop first released these, there was sort of controversy and people didn't like them, but I think over time people have come to like the models here. They're quite incredible and sort of like a siege type unit, so yeah, it's super heavy armour on these things. So I think they look alright. They were called Turbinators for a while, but I can understand the reasoning, the logic behind Space Marines taking these sort of siege warfare, and it matches my fists really well. You know, that's the kind of theme I'm trying to build up with those sort of heavy firepower and sort of heavy gear type army. So these do fit in really well. So that's the regular one. I'll show you the other pose as well. They do look incredible. And just for size comparison, if you don't have a unit of these, that's the chaplain. So they're head and shoulders above a Terminator. And if you take a regular Marine, you know, there is some difference. There's quite a presence they have on the battlefield. And even the bases, look, it's one size up from a Terminator base. I guess if you do get them, magnetizations, if you can, might be quite awkward. I've just gone for the las cannon option for these. I'll just show the sergeant here. Gone for the bare head here on him. So if you like the way these Imperial Fists have come out, then on the channel here on YouTube there is a regular painting tutorial for Imperial Fists, so you can follow that along. It's for a regular Marine, but it's exactly the same process. So same colours, same effects and so on, just on a bigger scale. And then there is an in-depth painting tutorial for the Imperial Fist. That's over on the Plus channel, and I'll show you how to paint a Imperial Fist Rhino. It looks like that. A couple of things like transfers, chipping, weathering and so on. So that's all covered in that in-depth tutorial. I think I'll show you how to do the lettering as well, freehand also. So that's over on the Plus channel. So there they are. We'll take a look at the rules now for these. So just push those out of the way there. So the current Space Marine Codex, and there'll be points for chapter approved 2018. So we'll cover points just a moment. They did see a points reduction, which is good, but they are still very expensive. So that's one of the vulnerabilities, and it applies to any army. You go for an expensive unit, it may be really good, but your opponent knows that it's expensive and it's good, and they make it a target early on as a priority. So you've got to watch out for that, and that's people blasting these to pieces here. So there are a few things you can do to try and protect them, but So that's Centurion Devastator squad. Then there's the Centurion Assault squad here. I'll cover this also for these, because they're a viable option. I've just gone for the firepower. I needed some long range firepower, so that's what it depends what role you need. You know, if you're lacking a bit of armor punching, close combat sort of ability, then maybe the Centurion Assault squad. And then if you're lacking a bit of long range firepower, then the Devastator squad. So they're versatile enough. Movement 4, the power level 12. You get a unit of 3, 1 sergeant, 2 centurions. Movement 4, so they are slow. So immediately for the Centurion Assault squad, you need some kind of delivery system for them. You can't have them wandering on 4 inches around the board. They'll not get to do anything. So a lot of people take a land raider as an option. You put those inside and then you're able to get them to where they need to go. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, strength 5, toughness 5. That's going to help protect them against sort of small arms fire, sort of bolters and las guns and so on. 3 wounds, so you can absorb a fair bit of damage. 2 attacks, leadership 7, and a 2-up save. So you know, tough enough for infantry, and the sergeant just gets the extra attack. So you can take additional 3, so you could take up, you know, you have a unit of 6. It's going to be exceptionally expensive. You could spend a quarter of your points if you're doing a 2,000 point list on them. Each model is armed with siege drills, 2 flamers, and Centurion assault launchers. So 2 flamers, that's 2d6 shots each, range 8. So you're looking to go close with these, you know, sort of aggressive play with them. Bit of protection on Overwatch as well. And then Centurion assault launchers is here special. If a model with a Centurion assault launcher finishes a charge within an inch of an enemy unit, roll a d6. On a 4+, the unit suffers a mortal wound. So the chance of causing a couple of mortal wounds as you charge in, not that amazing. You've got omniscopes. Enemy units do not receive the benefit to their saving throws. In cover against attacks made by a unit includes a Centurion sergeant. So your sergeant's going to deny cover. That's very cool. And you can break them down to combat squads. So really, any model replaces 2 flamers with 2 melter guns. So a bit of armor busting ability there. Pretty good. Just going to give you an idea on points. They took a big points reduction. Well, 53 points these start off at. Let's just double check the Devastators. They start off at 40. They were 80. So there's a crazy difference between the two. So they're quite comparable now. At 53 points you start off with. Then for melters, it's 17 points now, I believe, for a melter gun. 14 points, no, it's taken a reduction. So 28 points to put 2 of those on there, or flamers would be 12 points. They're 6 points a time. So depends what you need. Anti-infantry, probably got other units that can do that. Tactical squads and storm talons and so on. So I think the melters would be more potent. Getting close, you deliver the unit into the heart of the opponent's force. You could melter one tank, charge into the other one, so you sort of get double efficiency out of them for not too much cost. You know, 4 melter shots is pretty devastating if you can get close enough. So I would reckon I would take melters. I reckon that's what I go for, and do the anti. Because if you destroy one if you destroy one tank with firepower, charge into another and destroy it, it's sort of paying for your points. You want to rapidly try and pay for your points of those, because your opponent's just going to turn the army around and try and blow them away. So go to melters. Modern replaces Centurion assault launchers with a hurricane bolter. A hurricane bolter. Yeah, it'd be maybe tempted to go for that, because you can fire all your weapons now from the same model. So again, you've got to pay for your hurricane bolters, but they're not that expensive. 10 points. You know, hurricane bolter, rapid fire 6. Very efficient. This is one of the big improvements of these, is the new beta rules for bolters. Terminators, Centurion, Devastators, they get double shooting even at normal range. So you're going to get 12 shots each. So that's 36 shots coming from unit of 3 of them. Just for adding hurricane bolters. Again, I'd take those as well. So you could, you know, you get out of a land raider, your melter tank, you hose down an infantry target with your hurricane bolters, and then charge in with the siege drills at something else. Nasty. Nasty enough, for sure. So the big question is these siege drills. I'm not writing these off. I wanted the heavy firepower, but it seems that you can equip these well enough. Right, interesting. Siege drills 0. Wow, just cheaper option. Okay, so siege drills in. Yeah, really good. Times 2 strength, so strength 10. So virtually every tank that's out there is 3s to wound. AP -4, so the vast majority of tanks are going to bypass the armour. It's 3 damage, and there's no minus to the hit rolls. That is brilliant. So really good. Centurion Assault Squad is definitely a viable option. I would seriously be tempted to put a cheap chaplain in with them. Really would, or even a captain as well, captain of Thunderhammer Storm Shield, something like that, just to grant the reroll ones, or the chaplain to grant the entire rerolls, just to really make the most out of those. Because you know, you charge in with 2, 2, and 3, so 7 attacks. There's a chance you could miss with 4 quite easily, and then you're going to struggle to take a target out. The chaplain, I reckon I'd go chaplain, just a cheap chaplain in amongst them to grant them the rerolls. And then you're going to get, instead of 2, 3, 4 hits, you're going to start getting your 5, 6 hits, and then that's where your wounds then should come through, enough to destroy a vehicle. You don't want them to half kill a vehicle for all that investment. So yeah, that's the loadout I'll go for then. I would take siege drills, double melters, hurricane bolters on them, and then try and deliver them. Something like a land raider, I would imagine. Yeah, Storm Raven gunship. Yes. It says so here. You can transport infantry models and a dreadnought. Each jump pack or terminator model takes the place of 2 infantry models, and each centurion takes the place of 3 infantry. So it looks like you can transport centurions in the Storm Raven gunship. So that's definitely a way to deliver them that. And then you've got your land raider options as well. So, but they need some kind of delivery. You can't have them walking around on the board trying to reach targets. It's a complete waste. So you definitely need to think of the way of delivering them across the board. If you go to the Storm Raven gunship, you're sort of paying for the transport, yes, but you're also paying for the gun platform as well. And I usually use those quite aggressively, so that may well be an option. But Centurion Assault Squad, no problem at all. Definitely a potent unit, I think. But it's a unit you want to get the most out of. When they disembark, you want to do as much as you can with them, because then the chances are quite high that they'll not be around for the next turn. They'll be taken out, and that's the downside with those. They can be picked apart quite quickly. So the option I've gone for is the Centurion Devastator Squad. So they sound cheaper at 40 points a time, but I go for the double las cannon. That's 25 points each, so you get another 50 points there immediately. So they are 90 points each. So 270 points straight away. So all of a sudden it's an expensive unit if you go for the las cannon loadouts. I will try some dice rolls of those soon, just to give you an illustration here. So usual rules for the las cannons. The stat line's all the same here. You don't have to worry so much about delivery for these, because you're just doing a bit of manoeuvring just to line up for long range firepower. So you don't have to worry so much about transportation for them. They can start on foot, and the las cannon's a great range of 48, so you're going to cover the battlefield pretty good with them. Strength 9, AP -3, D6 damage. Pretty good. So they come with hurricane bolters, so 10 points a time. So there's your 36 shots. The great thing about these now is all of a sudden you don't have to worry about range 12 to get your double shots with the rapid fire. For these guys and for Terminators with the beta rules, you're on your maximum firepower even at long range. So 36 shots at range 24. It's fantastic. It really is good. So you can lay down a good blanket of firepower just from 3 models. So really good. Just like aggressors really, but better range. So the other option for these is to take, I've modelled them on there, I used to take that configuration. That's the Centurion missile launchers here. Range 36, so not as long as the las cannons. Assault D3, so this on average say 2 shots each, plus 6 shots. Strength 8, -2, D3 damage. That's okay. But the problem is the cost. The Centurion missile launchers are 25 points a time. So you add that onto the cost and you've got like a 350 point unit, and that's just 3 models with no invuln save, and I just think it's too much of an investment in a unit like that, and the opponent, I know the opponent's going to go after them. So to keep the cost down, I've gone for hurricane bolters, and so that brings them at exactly 300 points for the unit. Still expensive, but not as bad as it would have been for taking the Centurion missile launchers. And still, I think now's the time to do it, because hurricane bolters have got better mounted on these. 36 shots is fantastic. So, and you're saving a load of points just to keep them at 300. So I'm going for hurricane bolters with them. So there's 2 tasks for those. There's neutralising a heavy target, and there's 6 las cannon shots stands a good chance of destroying a vehicle. That's the aim. And the hurricane bolters to hose stuff down. So the other options is to go for the heavy bolter options, which is pretty good. It should be 10 points here for heavy bolter. Yeah, 10 points a time. And you're taking 2 of them, so you can add 40 points plus 20, 60 points. So that's a much cheaper option if you're just looking for anti-infantry. But I just think these big siege type models here need to do something heavier than trying to hose down infantry. Other lighter armed stuff, your tactical squads and so on, they can do that kind of clearance. But for these, I think they need to have some kind of heavy hitting firepower. So don't go for the heavy bolters. But if you need that role fulfilled in your army, then maybe that is an option. And then the grav cannon and grav amp. 28 points. It's even more expensive than the las cannons. But you're only paying for one of them. Any one replaces 2 heavy bolters with either 2 las cannons or a grav cannon and grav amp. So it's just the one set. It's 28, so you are saving. Yeah, it's actually not much more expensive than taking the 2 heavy bolters. Yeah, decimated protocols here. No minus for firing heavy weapons, which is fantastic. Really is good. So there's no problem in manoeuvring these into position. There's no minus to hit rolls. And the omniscope's there as well, so ignoring cover, which is useful. It really is useful. So grav cannon, grav amp. So 4 shot, heavy 4, range 24, so he's sort of medium range. Strength 5, -3, 1 damage. If the target is a save characteristic of 3+ or better, this weapon has a damage characteristic of D3. So it's okay. You get 12 shots from the unit. I still would keep to the las cannons just to do a better job at punching through armor. So that gives you an idea. My configuration is the 300 points. So now what I've done with my army is to try and think of ways of protecting them. I don't want them getting blown away on turn 1, or them to stand in the middle of my army and then multiple targets for that to shoot at them and then to them to be taken out. So I really want them to survive for as long as possible. So their survival against small arms fire. No problem at all. 2 up save, 5 up or 5 toughness for them. 3 wounds, they can absorb some damage pretty good. So las guns, bolt guns and so on, pretty safe. But then your opponents are going to obviously start firing heavy weapons, so your plasma weaponry will cause trouble for them, and then the heavier guns, so battle cannons, las cannons and so on, and then they're in trouble. So there's a number of things I'm going to try and do to try and protect them. We'll talk about enhancing their firepower as well in just a moment, but just to protect them, first thing is use of cover. So something like a ruin or a crater to add +1 to their armor save. So 2 up armor save, let's say the shot comes through AP -3, 2 up becomes a 3 up, 4 up, a 5 up save, then +1 for being in cover becomes 4 up. So now you've got half a chance of trying to block those shots from coming through. It makes a massive difference. So that's an option. Try and give them cover if possible, especially if you're sort of dug in somewhere and that's where they're going to remain for the game. So that can help them out, but still vulnerable enough, and you don't want to set them up so the opponent can see them with multiple units. You got to watch out for that one. But that's one tip to help those models out. Next is, I'm going to borrow another piece of terrain here, is to make use of line of sight blocking terrain. So during setup I might put them like this. Let's say the opponent's coming in from this direction. Let's just say, I'll illustrate it for you just with angles here. Let's say the opponent has their army set up, just representational, but way off in the distance the opponent's got these angles here, so they're looking in this direction. So turn 1, during deployment you want to make use of line of sight blocking terrain, so they're hidden, so if you don't get to go first the opponent's heavy targets can't see them, so now you might fire a few mortars at them but it's not going to flush them out. So one way to try and protect them, make use of cover, the other is just to hide them and to have them hidden. So that's, keep a lookout for that. That's what I plan to do with these, is just to hide them behind a solid line of sight blocking terrain. You can try and use your own models. The danger is that the opponent might be able to strip that away. Wrecks now are removed and then they can be vulnerable, so that might make it too easy for the opponent. I'm going to try and make use of line of sight blocking terrain. The next trick is to not go like this when you move, but to try and play it subtle. So let's say the opponent's like this, I might just maneuver these so that they can engage one target and can see one target, and then trying to blindside the others. So not walking out and exposing in front of all of the targets, but just try and move, eliminate one target, and then just play it subtly, taking out one. And I know the opponent can maneuver and can deep strike and so on, but just as much as possible, just try and use your angles to your advantage as much as you can, and to try and limit the firepower that's going to be returned back in your directions. So that's another idea I'm thinking of, just to try and limit the amount of units that can actually see those. I think is going to be a key to helping to protect them. If you start doing those kind of things, then less damage is going to come through, and it might be that it'll lessen the chances of the entire unit being wiped out. You may just take one casualty or a couple of wounds. So then what's going to happen, my other little plan, is to add in a Space Marine Apothecary here, and to have him hanging around. The idea is to keep them alive. Yes, they might lose a model, or they might take a couple of wounds, but it's keep the units not wiped out, and then so he's there to either restore wounds, or, and it'd be great value for points, is to resurrect whole models. You know, if in a game I'd take a casualty or two and I'm able to resurrect one of these, that is a fantastic result to get one of them back in action. So, and an Apothecary, cheap enough to add in. Characters hidden, it's going to be hard to remove him, and you can just hang around with those. You know, conceding the fact I can't really grant these much of an invuln save, and you know, they're vulnerable. Toughness 5, 3 wounds, your opponent could chew through them with heavy weapons pretty quick. So trying to hide them, limit the angles, and then hoping that damage that does come through is not going to be too much, and it means that I can start resurrecting and restoring wounds with that guy, just to keep them going. Because for each turn that they're on the board, chucking out that firepower, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, and even through to the end of the game, then they'll start to dominate. But the last thing you want to happen is to lose them on turn 1 or turn 2. So just trying to, and even in a game where there's too many targets and it's too dangerous for those, just hide them and even just concede it and not, dare I say it, not even shoot with them. Just keep them alive. Let other targets try and, or other units try and soften up targets, and then maybe when the opponent's less stronger, then start to bring these out. That may even be another option as well. But just trying to think of all these little ideas, trying to stop them from being blown away quickly. So that's all I can think of for them. The other thing is sticking them inside a transport. For these you want the, but I reckon for these, no, you could go like a Land Raider, and start the game with them inside. Great idea. And then disembark and start firing, because remember, you can move around with these. There's no minus to the hit rolls, which is excellent for them. So that is a good advantage to have. The next area I want to cover is to try and enhance their firepower. You've paid out the points, so you want to try and make the most out of their firepower as much as possible. So, and I'm working on these at the moment. The first one is to take a captain. So here's Lysander. This is the stage that he's at here, just as I'm revamping this fist army. So it doesn't have to be Lysander, it just be a regular captain, and you can. It doesn't even have to be a Terminator captain. It can just be a standard captain. You know, minimal loadout if that's what you want. And again, you can have him hanging around, and he can grant the reroll ones, or you can go for the stratagem, chapter master, 3 command points, and then just grant entire rerolls across the board, and that will really help them. So you get a turn where you get 6 las cannon shots, 4 miss. You know, it's devastating. It's terrible. Ability to rerolls or even reroll ones just gives them the edge. Really helps that, because you're trying to get as many of those las cannon shots to hit as possible. So just be prepared to see them being enhanced by the captain. Plus Lysander, or you know, a well-equipped captain's got a bit of ability to repulse an attack coming in, because again, they can be quite vulnerable in close combat. Something nasty, a big Tyranid monster, or enemy Terminators will take those down if they're equipped well enough. So I've got a captain there. I go for reroll ones, but you can do the upgrade to chapter master for rerolls. And the other one is lieutenant. So again, I'm working on one here, and so he can hang around. And now you're getting rerolls on your wounds, rerolls of 1. So las cannons usually 3s to wound, and then all those 1s that come through, the dreaded 1s when you roll up to wound, they're rerollable because of the lieutenant. It just really does help their efficiency. And you're just trying to get as many las cannon shots to get through to the target and to wound the target as possible. And you're aiming to take out a vehicle, you want at least 3d6 damage. At least. So half your shots have got to find their mark, wound, get past the armor save, and then you're rolling for your damage. So to make that happen, captain and lieutenant, just to grant that. And it means you're not rerolling your 1s, rerolling on both of these. You're avoiding the temptation of using up command points as well. For rerolls. So what I reckon we'll do is we'll fire these pure as they are, and then we'll start to add in some enhancements. Hopefully, on average, you should start to see the difference. So I'll bring up a crash test Rhino here, just as an example. We'll leave out these characters for now. Don't need the apothecary there, and then we'll swing these just around. So just going for standard shooting. Again, this is your average vehicle. 10 wounds, 3 up to save, toughness 7, sort of your standard. This is just your average you're trying to get through here. So las cannons then. Needing 3s. Immediately, I think I've illustrated the point. They've got 2 misses that are 1s. We'll just keep going. 3s to wound. Okay, so 3 have got through. Rhino gets a chance now to try and block. No, 3d6 damage. See, even by themselves, I think they're pretty good. 8, 9, almost destroyed. You'd maybe command reroll that one. I've rolled a 1, but you needed 2 or more to take that target out. That was a good round of shooting. So if they can take out a vehicle a turn, I think they'll be good enough. So 1 miss, 3s to hit is pretty good, and they've all wounded. That's horrific. There's 2 saves though, but it's still going to be 3d6 damage. Got it, target destroyed. 13 wounds. God. Yeah, there's your bad round here. That's your dreaded 1. And 6 is to block. No, 2d6 damage. 8, still pretty good. We'll do 1 more. So even by themselves, they're potent enough, but it's a 300 point unit, so you'd expect them to do well enough. 3s. 6s, yeah, 3d6 damage. That was poor, 6. Alright, so you're sort of on average, you're looking for above average to destroy the target. So add in the captain and the lieutenant. I think that's the combo I'm going for. So we'll do a few rounds set. So captain then, God, it's a good job he's arrived at that point. So on a normal round of shooting, you're looking at 2 hits. 300 point unit, you know, you feel like, oh, what a waste. The captain's there to help out here. and all of a sudden 2 hits have become 5. I think I've illustrated the point here. They've all wounded. It would have been a disastrous round, but it's been turned into an excellent one. You've got your 4d6 damage. God, 18 wounds. God, superb. Okay, we'll go again. There it is again, 2 1s. You just turn that into a full house of hits. All wounded except 1. This is excellent here. 6 is to block, none. All of a sudden, 5d6 damage. Oh, crazy. 18, 21. Yeah, 21 wounds. God, now you're starting to take out big targets here with that kind of firepower. Another round of shooting. Reroll the 1s for the captain. Gets that hit. Really good. Lieutenant's not really help. Now the lieutenant can help. He's turned that into a wound. That's excellent. Blocked 1, and still that's enough. 11 damage. Yes, so you've taken out a tank. We've not taken out a target yet. Horrific round. Really bad. Those I can't reroll. Those chapter master would have helped, but I at least get to reroll this one. Just still missed. Not so good here. The 2 wounds do come through. Not saved, and it's only 5 damage. That was a very poor round. Do one more. Again, it's a poor round, those 2s. So chapter master, if you have the command points, then go for it. Lieutenant helps out a little bit. Not saved. It's only 2d6 damage, and it's just 5. Okay, so you are going to get to bad rounds sometimes, but even on a bad round of shooting, you're sort of half destroying a tank. On average, destroying a tank on a good round, you're taking out something Land Raider sort of size with those guys there. But if you're able to, chapter masters would really help. Okay. Yeah, one more thing actually, and again I plan to do this with my list, and that's a very, very helpful warlord trait, which is the popular one. Here, Storm of Fire. So each time you roll a wound of a 6 or more for friendly chapter units within 6 inches of the warlord, so that would be like a captain. The arm penetration is improved by 1. So your laser cannons then firing at AP -3. Any 6s to wound becomes AP -4. And that means a target like that's not going to get a save at all. It's just going to bypass straight through. So that's another enhancement that can help them out. And all these little things adding up, little reroll 1s here and there. It all just starts to tip the odds in your favour to try and get the kill. The aim for them is to destroy 1 target a turn. Sort of a heavy medium target, so a vehicle a turn is the aim for those. And if they're able to do that each turn, if you're wise with your deployment, keep them hidden away and well protected, and the apothecary there helping out, because I think as soon as you lose one of those, you're not going to be able to do that. So the ability to try and keep them topped up as much as possible, just to keep that firepower going 1 turn after the next. And then I think they can really start to dominate the battlefield. So that's the Tactica for Centurions. I would say check the comments section, see what other Space Marine players do, what combinations they go for. I mean, there's so many different combinations you can use. There's others that may well use the Assault Centurions very effectively. So if you're an experienced Space Marine player and you have a certain combo that works for you, so that the way you move them around the board, the upgrades, weapon combinations, unit size and so on, and then it'll be fascinating to hear how you use these effectively. And then for the Centurion Devastators as well. So check the comment section below, see what other Space Marine players have said, because my combination, that's just one way of doing it, but there's plenty of other ways you can use Centurions for sure. But they are, the downside's an expensive unit and quite vulnerable to getting blown off the board. So I hope I've shown you here in this video ways to try and compensate for that as much as possible. But that's the Tactica and Showcase for the Centurions. Keep a look out for the Imperial Fists. Exciting times for them. Sort of fast track them. I've rebased all of the Marines. They're all finished to bring them up to standard 32mm bases. And you can see I made a start on these 3. If I get them painted, the fists are ready for action. So really excited to see the Imperial Fists making a comeback. And it's about time. A lot of chaos, corruption and so on, so it'll be good to have the Imperial Fists fighting again. But as you're seeing, I hope to do a whole army list video, but as you're seeing that, and in the battle reports planned for both of the channels. These guys will be a central unit for sure, and the success of my Imperial Fist list will hang on them to a large degree in future games. But there it is, that's the Centurion Devastators. Thanks for watching. Keep a lookout for more Tactica for the Space Marines, and tune in next time.